You need to change the channel to make this election not entirely focused on Trump in order to regain some of what you've seemed to have lost. And if so, how do you do that in the next few weeks?
Historically, in the last two elections, the Bloc Québécois started a bit far behind because we don't have not so much exposure. The more we get, the higher we get in the possible results. In the last two elections, we started far behind, and we ended the campaigns in a very good position. And in both cases, we prevented Liberal majority. That's what we intend to do once again. The more people hear about us, the better it is, I believe, for Quebecers.
So that's Yves-François Blanchet. I guess his theory is, fingers crossed, hope for the best. It worked last time. James Mennie, Montreal Gazette's on the line. Jim?
It's not last time. It's not 2021. It's not 2019. To compare those elections to this one is to compare apples to big, fat, orange-colored presidents. It's not the same, Aaron. The stakes are completely different, and I got to tell you, Mr. Blanchet and the Bloc are in very, very deep trouble because all the bromides, all the cliches, all of the givens that were supposed to be real make or break political issues here in Quebec are out the bloody window. One thing before we go any further, Aaron, and it's not on the list, but if like myself, many of our listeners are probably still wiping away tears of blood having looked at their stock portfolios today. However, I don't know if you heard this. There are no less than 7 Republican senators who are signing on to a bipartisan bill to limit Trump, in fact, hijack Trump's ability to levy tariffs. Trump is threatening that he will veto it. But once again, it shows that perhaps the message is finally getting through to the people who are, in fact, supposed to be running the U.S. government. So we should keep our eyes on that. I'm not saying it's going to go one way or another, but the fact is they're realizing now they, like us, like the world, are able to read an economic report every morning and see what's happening with the markets. So we'll see where that goes. But back to Monsieur Blanchet. It's so funny. Mark Kearney was on the West Coast today, and one of the things he said was that he thinks Quebec should use oil from Alberta, not from the U.S. Apparently, 70% of the oil that Quebec uses on a daily basis. And let's face it, home of the F-150 and the muscle car, Quebec uses a lot of oil, Aaron. The fact is, it all comes from the U.S., and he's also trying to kill two birds with one stone, sort of promoting the idea that we should be using our own oil. Also, the whole idea, which up until now has been anathema in Quebec, that a pipeline should actually go through La Belle Province, even though François Legault has said, well, maybe we'll take a look at that now, because there might be social acceptability. I can tell you there is social acceptability for it right now. But it's going to be fascinating come the French language debate, Aaron, to see if Monsieur Blanchet tries to play this card. He still calls it dirty energy from out west, from Western Canada. We don't want that in Quebec. And I think what we're going to see, it's going to be a tough night for Mark Carney for sure. But I think one of the things we will see, and it's not wishful thinking, I got nothing against Monsieur Blanchet, but I think you're going to see just how hermetically sealed in its own bubble the Bloc Québécois has become, and how utterly unprepared it is to deal with a campaign where Donald Trump is the main character.
So much has been said now about the fact, Jim, and I think we might have talked about this at the end of last week. Now that the Trump influence is over, and when I say over, I mean the worst seems to be over, although we know that some of these tariffs don't go into effect until Wednesday, and that could spark this all over again. Do you get the sense that the Poilievre campaign is going to stop talking less and less about Trump and more about an actual platform?
They're going to talk more and more about, how Mark Carney is the worst thing to hit Canada since forever. They have been unable to pivot. Today, the big theme is a finding by a government watchdog committee on potential foreign interference in the election, finding that a social media account used by a communist Chinese news service has been posting lots on Mark Carney. On the one hand, praising him as the guy to take on Donald Trump, and on the other hand, perhaps suggesting as a banker he might be out of touch. An analysis of those posts suggests that most people won't be affected by it, even if it is aimed at a Chinese-speaking audience. However, they won't be affected by it. But this is it. After today, You cannot, you can't replace a candidate. After today, that's it. So anybody who's got any dirt, anyone who's got any muck, it's going to be raked as of tomorrow morning, and I think it will be raked because that's where we are. There is certainly a sense of desperation emanating from the Poilievre campaign. There's a sense of almost resignation, as far as I'm concerned, emanating from the campaigns of the other parties. And I'm not saying this because Mark Carney's a great guy. I will say again, the only reason we're talking about this guy is courtesy of Donald Trump. But there seems to be no way to get around it, Aaron. There seems to be no way for people to suddenly hit the brakes and say, yeah, let's talk about identity or language. Or indeed, even housing or the economy, when people are literally seeing their savings disappear within hours of it having been sitting there for perhaps years, apparently safe. People are scared, and fear is a huge motivator. And the fact is, whether we or whether anyone wants to admit it or not, Mark Carney is to a certain extent running a campaign that is propelled by fear. People may say that's not the right way to do things, but guess what? Given what's happening, there's a hell of a lot going on south of the border that's not going on the right way either. But here we are. It's a very bizarre situation. We are talking about issues we never thought we'd be talking about in this coming campaign. But and good Lord. We still have till the end of the month before this thing is over, but it seems that there is no way to change the channel on this, or to change the channel, which is really highlighting the Mark Carney show.
One of your notes says the real mudslinging starts in 3-2 because here we are 3 weeks away now from this thing, and does this all change, Jim, in your mind because the Trump part is out of the equation?
I'm not sure he's out of the equation, Aaron. I would say that Donald Trump is front and center in this campaign. There may be attempts to sort of move around him. And certainly, to be fair, Mark Carney is doing a full-throated, general, broad-based campaign. But every single morning when Canadians wake up, they are not looking at, national identity. Certainly in Quebec, the issues of language and identity are not front and center. People are absolutely terrified of what's happening in the States. They want someone to guide them through it. Right now, Mark Carney seems to be the guy. I know the debates are going to be crucial, but what I meant by cue the muck raking is that after today, you cannot replace a candidate. So if they want to shoot down candidates,
I see. Okay.
if they want to start running a campaign a la Scandal, this is when it's going to start. It'll be, the fireworks will begin as of tomorrow. And I'm not just saying the Tories or the Bloc will do something like this. The Liberals have shown they're very, very good at this themselves as well. So we're going to probably see the tone of the campaign descend even further, if that's possible, in anticipation of the debates. But honest to God, Aaron, I look at the headlines coming out of all the campaigns, and it's almost as if there is this sense of inevitability that, and you look at the polls, which are absolutely nuts, to have seen them turned around and then stay this ridiculously lopsided polls in favor of the Liberals. Now, once again, polls have been wrong in the past and people have been misled by the polls. But right now, I've never seen a campaign of any length suggest that the odds-on favorite seems to be absolutely unassailable in his position. And I think this really, I realize it's the 7th of April, but my God, I think this is Mark Carney's to lose.
The other point in this, and I heard or played back the Nick Nanos clip that he was on this morning with Andrew, right? And he talks about the fact that even though, and it seems, I think in the latest Nanos poll, Jim, Conservatives picked up 2 points, Liberals lost 2 points. Yeah. Nothing truly terribly significant. But what's most significant, of course, is the fact that when you ask people still, even now, who would make the best prime minister or who would take on the however you want to frame that question, that lead is more than 20 points.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't. Do you remember ever seeing that kind of thing in a poll this close to an election?
No, never. But the one thing I have said in other campaigns, in other contexts, in other political contexts, on this very show, Aaron, is that when push comes to shove, I know people want to investigate the background of various leaders and what did they think and what did they say on Twitter 25 years ago. But the bottom line is people want to be led and they want to be protected. And if Mark Carney gives people, and that's the one thing from the friends I have who work outside of my business, that's the one, they feel confident that this is the guy. I'm not, campaigning for Mark Carney. I'm just saying what they're saying is that of all the candidates, that guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Which, and even if he doesn't know what he's talking about, I hate to say it, in politics, in our part of the world, that's enough.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll get blown to hell during the debates, Aaron. Maybe even in English. We'll wait and see. But right now, all the stars are aligning for Mark Carney. Is it happening too soon? Ordinarily, I'd say yes, but every morning I wake up and Donald Trump has done something new. And Donald Trump, at this point, much as the eventual sovereignty of Quebec is the raison d'être of the Bloc Québécois, honestly, at this point, politically speaking, Donald Trump has become Mark Carney's raison d'être.
Yeah, that's true. I want to ask one last thing. I started the show today with this question. There's an Annos poll now, beyond who's leading or whatever else, that shows that 20%, 1 in 5 Canadians, still say now that they have not decided who to vote for and won't to within 72 hours of the election. And I'm wondering, Jim, and the obvious answer here as to why when they're polled is, well, I want to hear what the party platforms are. I also want to hear, how the leaders do down the final few days of the campaign. Is this a particularly big number, do you think, this late in the campaign?
No. In fact, I remember having a conversation with you, a few elections ago, where another survey determined that 1 out of 3 voters makes up their mind on who they're going to vote for when they've got the pencil in their hand in the voting booth. So, but you know what? There's yes, we are worried about it. We are concerned about it. But I don't think people are being very analytical about it. I know I don't deny that's what they tell pollsters, but I really don't think they do. I think by and large they got so much more to worry about than Mark Carney's background in economics or Pierre Poilievre's ability to sell pipelines. I don't think that's going through people's minds. I think they want the person who's going to make me feel safe, who's going to make my money come back. That suddenly disappeared. I think that's what people are looking for. So I don't find that number high at all. And in fact, it's probably a lot higher.
Okay. Well, that's a question I'm going to ask right now. Jim, thank you. Appreciate it.
Matt.